So now that we've created a shot by capturing gameplay, let's talk about how to create a shot from scratch. To do this, we're going to import an asset from the game library and place it anywhere in the world using a 3D manipulator. Before we begin, let's go ahead and create a new empty shot. So let's go ahead and wave the mouse over the endpoint of the second shot and hold down the Control key. Notice that the cursor changes. If we click and drag the edit to the right, we'll create a gap. Go ahead and right-click on the gap and say Replace with New Clip. Note that it copies the current camera and creates an empty shot. So now that we've got an empty shot, let's go ahead and frame the camera to a new location in the map and do some set dressing. Notice that as we move the camera, both views are moving because they're both looking out of the active camera. So we'll go ahead and set the second view to the work camera, and let's go ahead and turn on the camera frustum so we can see the other camera moving around. So let's try making a reaction shot with a pyro sitting in a wheelbarrow. Let's place the camera on the side right about here, and now we're ready to go ahead and import our wheelbarrow. So let's talk about how to use the animation set editor. It's up here on the left. Since the shots can potentially record hundreds if not hundreds of thousands of things, you need a way to tell the SFM that these small number of things are the things that I actually care about. You sort of need a workbench of sorts. This workbench is called the animation set editor. This is where you're going to select things, adjust sliders, work with presets, copy, paste, delete, and run various rigging animation scripts. If you want to add something to a shot, this is where you're going to import new models into. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. First, you have to select your shot and make sure the playhead is inside the duration of the shot. Next, you'll see on the upper left-hand side of the animation set editor is a plus button. If you click on this, you can see that there's a menu of operations. This is how to add things to a shot. So go ahead and look for an entry that says Create Animation Set for New Model. Go ahead and click on it to bring up the model browser. This is similar to the sound browser we used in the previous tutorial. This time it selects models. If you just try to scroll through this list, it can be pretty daunting to find the object that you're looking for. Over time, you get used to working with the thousands of objects that make up a video game. If you're making your own custom models, just make sure they're placed inside the models directory and they'll show up in this list. But for right now, go ahead and type wheel, and this will show you only objects that have the word wheel in their name. On the bottom of the list should be the wheelbarrow. Go ahead and select it and click on Open. And now you can see that we've got a wheelbarrow in the viewport, and if you look in the animation set editor, there is now a text entry that says wheelbarrow 1. So let's go ahead and talk about how to select it. In the SourceFilmMaker, there are two concepts of selection: the object selection and the time selection. But right now we don't have any time selected because we're in the clip editor. To select time, we have to enter into the motion edit mode of the timeline. To do this, you can hit the button on the upper left-hand side of the timeline, or you can hit the tab hotkey. By default, when you enter into the motion edit mode, all of time is selected, and so you should see the entire timeline turn green. So now that we have time selected, let's go ahead and select the object. You can select it in two ways. You can either select it in the animation set editor by clicking on it, or if you want to select it in the viewport, hold down the Control key and wave the mouse over the object. As the mouse moves over the joints inside of an object, you'll see the name of the joint highlighted. If you click on it, it will become selected. If you drag while holding down the Control key, you can also lasso select objects. So now that we have all of time and an object selected, let's talk about using 3D manipulators. We have one for position, one for rotation, and one that can modify position and rotation at the same time, called the screen manipulator. So if you look on the lower left-hand corner of the primary viewport, you can see that there are buttons to switch between each one of these manipulators. Go ahead and click on the translation button. You can see that there's now a transform jack on the object. If you click and drag on the axes of this jack, you can either move it up or down, or if you click on the circle, you can move it in the plane defined by that circle. You'll also see a blue square in the center of the jack. If you click and drag on this, you'll move the object in screen space. So go ahead and work with this until you can get the object positioned over by that barrel. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and spin the wheelbarrow around so it's facing us. Go ahead and click on the rotation button. And now you can see we have a rotation manipulator. Clicking and dragging on the outer blue ring will rotate the object in screen space. Clicking and dragging on one of the axes will rotate the object on that axis. And if you click and drag on the center, it will allow you to free rotate, kind of like you're grabbing a ball. So go ahead and click on the screen manipulator button now. Using this manipulator is a fast way to move between translating and rotating without having to switch tools. You'll note that there is a yellow square on the inside of the 3D manipulator. This is the translation square. If you click and drag on that, the object will move relative to screen. If you click and drag on the outer orange ring, the object will rotate relative to screen. And if you click and drag in the circular area between the two, the object will free rotate,
as if you were clicking and dragging on a ball.
On the left-hand side is the pivot handle. You can use this to drag the manipulator off of the object to get more precise rotations and translations. Double-click on it and it'll snap it back onto the object. So before we use this, let's talk briefly about using the floating modification layer. So you may have noticed that the time selection has turned orange. This is because it contains all the modifications that we just did to the wheelbarrow. Go ahead and hit the Enter key. This will apply the current manipulation into the object's motion. Notice that the time selection turned green again, indicating that there is no manipulation present. Click and drag on the screen space manipulator, and notice that the time selection turned orange again. If we hit the Escape key, all of the active manipulations will be discarded, and the object will go back to the state it was before we did the manipulation. Or, if we like all the manipulations and we want to keep them, we can hit the Enter key. So now let's apply all these techniques that we just learned to posing a character. Go ahead and click on the plus button inside the animation set editor again, and choose Create Animation Set for New Model. This time, type the word Pyro. Select the pyro and hit Open. You'll see that the pyro is now floating in front of the camera, just like the wheelbarrow was. Go ahead and put him inside the wheelbarrow using the same techniques that we used earlier. If you want to select a joint and rotate it, hold down the Control key and click on that joint. Repeat this process until you have a pose that you like. I'm going to go ahead and speed up time now so you can watch me do it. So hopefully this gives you an idea about how we build up shots from scratch. So since we added time to our shot, let's go ahead and extend the sequence and review our work.
Dismiss!
Next up, we'll talk about creating animation using time selection.